Hey, how's it going, Cat Army? FSUA Gaming here with a lovely customer repair. So this one in particular is Mr. Kevin's gun. This is the EMG Striking Precisions M4. This one has been swapped out with the APS gearbox, but it still has a gate aster installed already. Unfortunately, from what he has told me, the gun is shooting really low in FPS. Definitely for a long range gun, you don't want that. So we're going to be using our chrono just to verify what the FPS is sitting at, and we're going to see what we can do to get this gun shooting right. So let's go right to our high-tech chrono shooting area. Can you read it out? 231. So as you can see, the FPS is really low. This is using 0.2 gram BB. So 230s to 240s is not where you want to be sitting. So let's get into this and let's see what's going on. And as you guys can see right here, when I pull off the upper receiver, the only thing I really like about APS is they make some pretty cool looking stuff. So what you guys can see right here, I'm just checking the air nozzle to make sure there's no cracks or scratches on it, and then also checking the hop up. So I'm blowing on one end while I'm plugging the two holes on a hop up unit to really just do a quick check to see if we have any air leaks. If you have a lot of air coming out from the hop up arm chamber, that can indicate to you that you have a really bad ripped bucking. Also, you can also check around, look to see if your bucking lips are ripped or they old. If they're not holding the BB in, that can also lead to some pretty bad FPS loss. And so one of the fastest ways to actually tell if it's your hop-up system or your bucking is if you have an extra set laying around, you can actually just swap them out and then test it. If your FPS is fixed by this issue, then you probably have an issue with your bucking or your hop-up system. And if it isn't, then you still probably have an issue somewhere around your gearbox that you need to figure it out. It could be anything from a tap plate timing issue to your spring being weak to compression issues. So after I tested this gun with the new setup, you can see right here, yeah, 78 FPS. Definitely a gearbox issue. And into the gearbox we go. So one of the main things that I believed was the issue in the first place was just compression. So of course I'm just going to check the compression. I'm going to clean everything before I change out the spring. The reason is that a lot of times people will throw a heavier spring in. Well, yes, that will fix the FPS issue. They're just adding a lot of unnecessary stress to the gearbox and the whole gun itself, which will just lead to the gun breaking a lot faster. So it's always good to work on your compression and then work up the springs until you're at your desired FPS. Yeah, just taking a look at this gearbox, it looks pretty nice. I don't know, personally I like it. It looks all futuristic and dystopian, and it's a quick change spring guide, so that's really nice. If you don't have a big old hex screw, you can use anything. You can even use your fingers. You just need to push it down just to move it around. Just make sure you don't have anything too small that can go to the threads, because that can actually scratch or bend the threads. But anyway, here is the spring. It does feel a little weak. I always use a long screwdriver and pull it down just to feel the tension, and yeah, this thing is super boingy. So I'm going to swap it back out with a stock M100 and just check to see if that fixes the issue too. But it's always good to go with the compression as well. Alright, let me just zoom you guys right on in real quick and let's take a look at this gearbox. So when removing your gears, just make sure you keep track of your shims. You don't want to mess it up, and you don't want to just start slapping shims on random gears, because you can break your gearbox very fast. So just be very careful with that. Anyways, let's get right into this gearbox. And once I took apart the gearbox, one thing I did see is a lot of big specks of sand. So that's not good, because if those get stuck between the teeth of a gear, it can shatter those gear teeth pretty fast. And now that I've got the gearbox assembled, it's a really good time to survey the parts that we have. So it's nice to see that we got a metal air nozzle with a pretty thick O-ring inside, a metal cylinder head, a metal piston head, and metal steel teeth on the piston. Now, as you can see, the air compression is pretty great out of the box, but the big question is over time, with all the lube in the gearbox and a lot of the sand, it's pretty safe to assume that we got a lot of gunk inside the air nozzle, which could be blocking airflow. Another thing is this cylinder has a pretty big port. Now, usually that's okay with guns around, 300 millimeters to like 400-ish millimeters per inner barrel. But after that, you want to start looking at smaller ports to even full cylinders to really give you that air volume that you need. For this gun in particular, we're looking at 460 millimeters of inner barrel, so that's a lengthy boy right there. So you definitely want to use a full cylinder to take as much advantage to really give the BB a good air cushion. Now, as you can see, one of the O-rings is a little bit on the stretch side, which is okay. Only thing we got to do is be very careful when we install it, not to rip it. This is the best opportunity for you to really clean out your gearbox. Let's try to get this thing looking brand spanking new. Now it's really important to clean out the tappet plate rails and the piston guide rails too, as well as your bearings, but make sure you relube them before assembly. Now as you can see just in a little bit, when I start cleaning out the cylinder head and air nozzle, boy oh boy, when I tell you I start pulling out some gunk. Just check it out. So this is a good sign to me that we were definitely losing some airflow. So this is just losing FPS right here. And this is why it's also important not to just throw a heavier spring in. If you throw a heavier spring in, it's just more stress for your gun, and you're probably going to be sending these particles straight through your hop up and into your bucking, which is going to rip it. So just remember, if you're going to clean your gun and if you're going to fix your gun, do it right the first time. I'm sorry, Cadam, I always wanted to do this and I could finally do it. Today's video is sponsored by my boy, The Real Deal Airsoft. Now if you guys haven't known, even way before I was even sponsored by him, I was using his parts for every single build. I loved his parts from the beginning. So go please check him out. He has some great parts, some great prices, and some great pre-builds if you're looking for them. So go ahead and check out my boy. His link is in the description. So these right here are the APS 1301 high-speed gear set. Now these are actually pretty good gear sets, but one thing I did notice while I was lubing up the spur gear is there is a pretty big considerable scratch along the whole thing. At first I thought it was just the design that APS did, but no, that's just a big scratch. So I did let the customer know and he was okay with proceeding forward with the gear set as it is now, because it's not going to cause any reliability issues. It's more just a cosmetic thing, you know. But nobody's really going to be looking at the gearbox besides us techs. So anyways, I checked the bevel to pinion gear. That was perfect shimmy. The bevel to the spur gear was also really good. It was just the sector gear to the spur gear. So I don't know if this is stock or somebody went into this before, but it just looked like whoever's doing it dropped the ball on the sector gear. I fixed that issue and now everything's running nice and smooth again. So unfortunately, I accidentally put in an M115 spring instead of an M110. So it's clocking in a little bit on the hot side for our local field. So I'm going to have to take apart the gun just to get to the gearbox to access the quick change. So I'll be right back. Alrighty guys, we got the gun all assembled back together. And let's give it a couple shots. Use a .2 gram BBs. 395. Get it closer up there. Yeah, look at that. 395. 392. 395, oh, 388, 395, 397, 388, 395. I think those low ones are dust because I keep accidentally nicking the chronograph. 393, 394. That is very consistent. And that's the video academy. So if you guys are not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. We do tech builds, we do meme gameplay, and I am here to help you guys. So if you guys have any questions, you comment down in any of my videos. I will be there to help you. And if I'm not, please feel free to just spam my emails in my inbox. I will help you. So if you guys have any questions, please comment down below. If you guys like the video, subscribe, share it. Let's grow this cat army to 2,000 subscribers. Anyways, love you guys. Have a wonderful day. Catch you later, cat army. Peace.